Hey, and welcome back to Better Daily. Today's episode is something a lot of us deal with quietly, even daily: anxiety. I feel like everyone says they have anxiety nowadays. But what is it actually? Like, how would you describe it?
Yeah, that's a great place to start. The word anxiety gets thrown around so much that it starts to lose its weight. But when we slow it down, anxiety is really just your brain trying to protect you by imagining every possible thing that could go wrong. It's like a faulty alarm system, one that keeps going off even when there's no fire. You're not in danger, but your brain acts like you are. And so your body reacts as if you're being chased by a bear, even if you're just waiting for a text reply or walking into a meeting.
So it's not always about something big?
Yes, anxiety can be loud or quiet. It might be a sudden rush, like a panic or tight chest. But a lot of times it's this low hum of unease, like your body's on edge, your thoughts are racing, or you just can't settle. And the tricky part is, it feels so real. Even if logically you know there's no actual threat. So, to put it simply, anxiety is your brain trying to keep you safe, but doing it in a way that ends up exhausting you.
Why do you think anxiety feels so much more common now? Is it actually increasing, or are we just more aware of it?
Honestly, probably both. But if we're being real, life today is loud. We're constantly plugged in. There's no real off switch anymore. Think about it. We wake up to notifications, scroll through other people's highlight reels before breakfast, and get reminded of 1,000 things we haven't done before we even leave the house. And that's not even counting money stress, relationships, job pressure. It's like we live in a mental hurricane.
Yeah, it's like our nervous systems never get to rest.
Right. Add to that the pressure to always be productive or improving yourself. And suddenly, sitting still feels like failure. We're chasing peace by doing more, faster, better. But peace doesn't work like that. Also, there's this thing no one really talks about, the fear of missing out on life, while at the same time fearing that life is too much. It's like we're overstimulated but also deeply disconnected from nature, from each other, from ourselves. And that gap, that space between what we need and how we're actually living, that's where anxiety loves to grow.
That really resonates. It's not just big traumatic stuff, it's the daily noise.
Exactly. And we don't realize how much our environment and even our digital habits are shaping our emotional baseline. So yeah, anxiety is on the rise. But a big part of it is that we're not wired to process this much input all the time. We're not designed for 24/7 urgency.
So, let's talk about how anxiety actually feels. I mean, beyond the overthinking, like what are the signs we miss?
Yeah, that's such an important question because anxiety doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, and if we're not tuned in, we don't even realize it's anxiety we're dealing with. For some people, it shows up physically first, like your heart's racing, your stomach's tight, maybe you feel restless or can't sit still. Some folks even feel dizzy or short of breath, and then they think, wait, am I sick? But it's actually their nervous system saying, hey, something's off.
That makes sense. I've definitely had moments where my body felt tense, but I didn't realize I was anxious until later.
Yes, it's like our body knows before our brain catches up. But it's not just the body. Anxiety also shows up in how we think. Racing thoughts, second-guessing every decision, overanalyzing a text message from 4 days ago. And sometimes anxiety masks itself as perfectionism, like you have to get everything right or else you feel unsafe, or maybe it turns into avoidance. You just freeze and scroll your phone instead of starting something important. That's anxiety too. It's not just panic, it's the quiet urge to escape.
So, it can look like procrastination too?
Totally. Sometimes we think we're being lazy, but really we're overwhelmed. Our brain's going, what if I fail? What if it's not good enough? So we avoid, we delay. But deep down, it's fear driving that.
Wow, that really reframes a lot for me. It's not always obvious, it sneaks in.
Yeah. And I think the key is learning your own anxiety signature. Like, how does it show up for you? Is it in your body, in your thoughts, in your habits? Because once you know how it shows up, you can start responding with more clarity instead of just reacting.
Okay, so what actually causes anxiety? Not just the obvious stuff like stress or deadlines, but the deeper stuff?
Great question, because yeah, it's easy to blame anxiety on surface level things like work, bills, or a packed schedule. But underneath those, there are emotional layers that most people never realize are even there. A lot of anxiety comes from things we learned way earlier in life. Like, if growing up you felt unsafe when things were uncertain, your brain probably wired itself to treat any uncertainty as dangerous.
So it's not just about what's happening now, but what our brain remembers from the past.
It's not that you're overreacting. Your brain is reacting exactly how it was trained to. It's trying to keep you safe based on old experiences, and those triggers can be sneaky. For example, you might get anxious every time you have to speak up in a meeting. On the surface, that seems small, but maybe years ago you were criticized for saying the wrong thing, or told your voice didn't matter. So now, even as an adult, your nervous system goes, danger, shut down, play it safe.
That hits hard. It's like the body remembers even if we don't consciously think about it.
And anxiety can also be a response to not feeling in control. We crave predictability. So when life feels messy, which it always does, the brain tries to control everything, or at least worry about it as a way to prepare. It's kind of ironic. Worry gives the illusion of control, even though it just keeps us stuck.
Right, like if I worry enough, I won't be caught off guard.
Yes, but here's the twist. That never really works, right? We still get surprised, we still feel things, so now we're just drained and anxious. Another trigger? Trying to be good all the time. A lot of people have this internal rule book. Don't upset anyone, always do your best, never make mistakes. And when life gets messy, as it always does, the anxiety kicks in because we think we're failing some invisible standard.
That's so real. It's exhausting trying to live up to those expectations, especially when we don't even realize we have them.
That's why awareness is such a big deal here, because once you start noticing the deeper patterns, the old stories, the inner rules, the fear behind the fear, that's when anxiety becomes something you can work with, not just suffer through. It doesn't mean it vanishes overnight, but it gives you a sense of, oh, this isn't just random, this has roots.
So much of what we call anxiety is actually a signal.
Yes, that's the shift. Anxiety isn't the enemy, it's a message, a loud, sometimes inconvenient message, but still. It's trying to tell you something's off. Maybe your boundaries are being crossed. Maybe you're overcommitted. Maybe you've been carrying fear or shame that never got a voice. And once you learn to listen to anxiety instead of fighting it, that's when things can start to shift in a really meaningful way.
So now I'm curious. You mentioned that a lot of us try to handle anxiety the wrong way. What do you mean by that?
Oh man, yeah, we've all been there. We try to fight anxiety like it's this enemy we have to defeat. So we go into fix-it mode, but most of what we do actually makes it worse in the long run. We pretend it's not there. We stay busy, scroll endlessly, binge watch something just to distract ourselves. And don't get me wrong, distraction can help in small doses. But if that's your only move, it's like putting a blanket over a fire. The smoke still creeps out. Another big one? We try to control everything. We overplan, overthink, micromanage every part of life, thinking we'll finally feel calm when everything's perfect. But life isn't perfect, and deep down, we know that. So the anxiety stays, and now we're just more exhausted.
So true. I've definitely done the if I can just get everything done, I'll finally feel okay thing, only to feel anxious again 2 hours later.
And here's another trap. We shame ourselves for feeling anxious, like, ugh, why can't I just relax? Or, this is so stupid, I shouldn't feel like this. But that just adds another layer. Now it's anxiety plus guilt. Double trouble.
That hits hard. So if all those don't work, what does?
Okay, tool number 1, and it sounds simple, but trust me, it's breathing. Not just any breathing, though. Intentional, slow belly breathing. When you breathe slowly, especially with a longer exhale, you're literally signaling to your body, you're safe now. It tells your nervous system, we're okay.
So it's like sending a message from the body to the brain.
Yes, most people try to calm their anxiety with thoughts, but thoughts are already racing. Your body is your fastest way in. Even 1 minute of slow, mindful breathing, like in through the nose for 4 seconds, out through the mouth for 6, it can shift your whole internal state. Second tool, movement. It doesn't have to be a full workout, just shaking your arms out, stretching, or taking a short walk. Anxiety is energy. If you don't move it through, it gets stuck.
That's such a helpful way to put it. Anxiety as energy that needs a path.
Totally. Another tool that often gets overlooked, Grounding. That means bringing your attention to the present moment through your senses, like feel your feet on the floor. Notice 5 things you can see around you. Touch something cold or textured. It brings you out of the racing mind and into the body.
That's a favorite of mine, especially when I feel spiraling thoughts starting.
Right? It doesn't erase the anxiety, but it turns the volume down, and that's the goal. We're not trying to eliminate anxiety. We're learning how to live with it in a healthier way. Oh, and one more powerful tool: self-talk. Most people speak to themselves in a way they'd never speak to someone they love. So instead of saying, "What's wrong with me?" try, "This is hard, but I can handle it." It sounds small, but those words matter.
That one really sticks with me because I definitely notice how harsh I can be with myself when I'm anxious.
Same here. We all have that inner critic, but what we need, especially in anxious moments, is an inner coach. Someone inside us who says, "You're doing okay. Just keep breathing, one moment at a time."
You mentioned self-talk, and I've been thinking about that. Can we really change how we think, or is that just how our brain is?
That's such a good question. And here's the encouraging part. Yes, we can absolutely change how we think. It's not instant, but our brains are way more flexible than we give them credit for. The term for it is neuroplasticity. It basically means your brain can form new pathways when you repeat certain thoughts or actions over time. So yeah, your thought patterns can shift, but it takes practice.
Okay, so where do we even start?
Start by noticing the thoughts without judging them. Most of us live with a nonstop inner voice that we've never actually questioned. It says things like, "You're behind. Everyone else is doing better. You're going to mess this up." And we just accept it. Like that voice is telling the truth. But most of the time, it's not truth. It's just habit.
So the first step is to hear it. Really hear what we're telling ourselves all day.
Awareness is always the first move. And once you catch that thought, just pause and ask, would I say this to someone I love? If not, it probably doesn't deserve a front row seat in your mind. You don't have to force positive thinking. Just challenge the automatic negative ones.
That feels more doable, not forcing fake positivity, but interrupting the harsh stuff.
Yes, it's not about pretending everything's great. It's about offering yourself a kinder lens. So instead of, "I'm such a mess," maybe you say, "I'm having a hard day, and that's okay." That small shift, it matters.
But what if those negative thoughts just keep coming?
Oh, they will. You're not doing it wrong if they show up again. That's just your brain doing what it's practiced for years. But now, you have a choice. You can say, "Thanks, brain, I see what you're doing, but I don't need that thought right now." It's like training a puppy. You don't yell at it, you just gently guide it back.
So we become less reactive to the thoughts over time?
And that's the real win. It's not about having zero anxious thoughts. It's about not letting them drive the car. The more you practice, breathing, grounding, naming your thoughts instead of being them, the more you build what I call mental space. That quiet pause between what your brain says and how you respond. And in that space, that's where peace grows.
That makes me feel so much more in control, not by forcing calm, but by choosing how I relate to what's happening inside.
Yes, that shift from fighting yourself to being on your own side, it changes everything.
So here's what I keep thinking. Let's say we do all the things. We breathe, we notice the thoughts, we talk to ourselves more kindly. And then, boom, anxiety shows up again. What do we do then?
I'm really glad you brought that up, because here's the truth a lot of people don't want to hear. Anxiety doesn't just go away forever. Even with all the tools in the world, anxiety is going to return. That's just part of being human. And I think that's what makes this chapter so important, because how you respond when anxiety comes back, that's where real healing happens. First, just take a breath and remember, this is normal. Anxiety coming back doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're alive. We live in an unpredictable world. Things will always shift. News, relationships, finances, health. So your nervous system might still get activated. That doesn't erase the work you've done. It just means you're meeting a new layer.
So relapse isn't a failure?
Not at all. It's actually part of the process. And every time anxiety returns, you get a chance to practice responding differently. Not with fear, but with familiarity. Like, "Oh hey, it's you again. I know what this is." That changes everything.
So when it hits, what's the first move?
Back to the basics. Don't overthink it. Don't try to fix everything in your life at once. Start with the body. Slow breathing. Grounding. Hydration. moving your body even gently. When anxiety spikes, your system is dysregulated. You don't need a deep philosophical insight in that moment. You need safety, and the body is the doorway.
That makes sense, because when I get anxious, my first instinct is usually figure it out, but that just makes it worse.
So go simple. Ask yourself, what would support me right now? Not, what's wrong with me? That shift in questions, it's powerful. The next step? Name what's real. Sometimes anxiety feels like a big storm, but we don't even know why it's there. So get curious. Is there something in your life that feels unsafe, uncertain, unspoken? Sometimes it's a deadline. Sometimes it's a conversation you've been avoiding. Sometimes it's just that you haven't eaten or slept enough. When you name it, it shrinks. When it stays vague, it grows.
I love that. It's like shining a flashlight in a dark room. Suddenly, things feel less scary.
Naming brings clarity, and clarity calms the system. I know we've talked about this, but it's worth repeating. When anxiety comes back, the worst thing you can do is beat yourself up for it. Instead, meet yourself with compassion. Literally say to yourself, "This is hard. I'm feeling anxious, and that's okay. I know how to care for myself." That's not being soft. That's being smart. Self-compassion is a nervous system tool, not just a feel-good thing.
And it makes me feel less alone in my own head.
Totally. We all have that inner critic, but it's time we build an inner coach, one who knows how to show up when things feel shaky. Sometimes anxiety is just a moment, a wave, but we attach meaning to it, like, oh no, I'm falling apart again. So take a second and zoom out. Look at the bigger picture. Are you actually in danger, or are you just feeling uncomfortable? There's a difference.
I love that distinction, because anxiety feels urgent, but that doesn't mean it is.
So much anxiety is about interpretation, and when you remind yourself, this is temporary, I've felt this before, I'll feel calm again, you take your power back. One thing anxiety hates: the present moment, because it lives in the what ifs. What if this doesn't work? What if I mess up? What if I fail? But the present moment, it's always quieter than the story in your head. So try this. Look around you. What can you see? What can you hear? What's touching your skin? These simple questions can pull you out of the future and back into your life.
I've actually used that, especially when I feel like I'm spiraling, just getting back to right now.
It works, and even if it doesn't make you feel perfect, it helps you feel here, and that's often enough. Last thing I'll say, when anxiety comes back, don't go into hiding. It's really tempting to isolate, cancel plans, disappear, but connection heals. Reach out to someone you trust, text a friend, tell someone what's going on, even if it's just, hey, I'm feeling anxious today. It breaks the spell, because anxiety thrives in silence, but it softens in safe spaces.
That's so true. Even just saying it out loud makes it lose some of its grip.
You don't need to fix it alone. You just need to be reminded you're not alone in it. So if anxiety comes back, let it. Not as your enemy, not as proof that you're failing, but as a reminder you're growing. Every time you meet anxiety, with breath, with kindness, with presence, you're changing the script. You're writing a new story, one where you don't have to run. You just have to return to your body, to the moment, to yourself.
That's beautiful. I feel like this whole episode has shifted something in me.
I'm really glad. And if someone listening needs to hear this today, you're doing better than you think. You've made it through 100% of your hardest days. You've got this. Thanks for spending this time with us. This is Better Daily, and we'll see you next time.